Hello, my name is Dr. Carole Lieberman. I am a board-certified psychiatrist, but in addition to that, I also have a master's in public health. I'm an MD, and I have a master's in public health as well. And I received a grant from the National Institute of Mental Health while I was studying for my master's in public health. And my field was epidemiology. Particularly, it was how to use the media to educate people about physical and mental health, to prevent illness and to treat illness. And I'm an author, a best-selling author, and I have 2 podcasts. And today, what has been getting me, why I mentioned first my credentials in epidemiology and public health, is because I've been talking about coronavirus and what people can do to help themselves in the quarantine, and terms that I created, like covicide for suicide related to coronavirus, and corona rage, like road rage. And so I have been, talking on radio and television about all these various things and trying to help people. But it has just been so incredibly frustrating. It's been incredibly frustrating to see politicians and so-called scientists and doctors like Dr. Fauci giving incredibly bad advice to people in terms of what they should do to protect themselves from coronavirus, to treat coronavirus. And it's all been about punishment. It's all things that you must do. You must wear masks, and you must stay 6 feet apart, and now you must take the vaccine, and all of these different, and you must not take hydroxychloroquine, even though that has been incredibly successful with many patients if they take it in the first 4 days. So it's just devastating to me to see that, because this is sort of public health 101, everything I learned, that when you announce to the public, when you use the media to teach people about what they should and shouldn't do about some kind of illness, you don't give them punishment. You give them positive things that they can do to protect themselves. Now, what this punishment has been doing, these punishments, these mandates, and these announcements have been doing, they have been stressing us out. And stress weakens the immune system. So, in fact, all of these mandates and all of these pronouncements and so on have been weakening our immune system and making us more vulnerable to coronavirus. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. I am not telling people not to wear a mask, or not to stay 6 feet apart, or not to wash their hands. What I am saying, though, is that everybody needs to make these decisions for themselves. They need to try to educate themselves, the internet, of course you have to be careful about what you believe is true, but if you read a lot of different things, and you watch television, or inform yourself sufficiently, and talk to your friends, people who you trust, talk to your doctor, of course, then you need to make the decisions for yourself. Not just be like little mice going into your little mouse hole, and making this world more and more like 1984, George Orwell's 1984, than ever. And so it is very unfortunate that from the beginning, all issues in society, but particularly it's very dangerous because all issues in regard to coronavirus have become politicized. And so if you're wearing a mask, you must be, one political party. If you're not wearing a mask, you're another political party. That has gotten in the way. That has made the whole situation worse, rather than it being based on scientific. Because the truth is that this is a new virus. And I mean, the family is known, but this particular virus is new. So scientists, doctors, researchers are first learning about it. So these people who want to come off as being experts in coronavirus, really, many of them are just guessing. They don't know what they're talking about, and yet they want us to follow these rules. So, this is all part of why you have to be your own doctor to some degree, or ask doctors who you trust, and put it together for yourself. So now we have the vaccine on, everybody, Fauci from the beginning kept saying, oh, wait till we have a vaccine, wait till we have a vaccine. Um, and so now we're essentially there. We're on the brink of having a vaccine, several vaccines, in fact. And they may well be good. Again, I'm not telling anybody not to take it, but I am saying you have to inform yourself about them. What is really scary is that there is now going to be immunity cards. Everybody is going to get an immunity card or an immunity passport. And that is going to keep your information, just like kids have, for the measles and so on, where you write down what vaccines you've gotten, because some of these vaccines you need more than one, so it's to help you keep track of where you are in that. But the information isn't private. It's not just with your doctor. These vaccines are, whether you take them, when you take them, what you take, is going to be communicated to the government. And so, it's one thing to be told to wear a mask or to stay 6 feet apart. But it's another thing to be told you have to take a vaccine, because that's something that is put into your body. That is sort of the final frontier. And so if we allow the government to tell us that we need to put things into our body, and God knows what's in those vaccines, there's lots of questions that have been raised about that. Then the freedom is gone. Our choice is gone. And yes, coronavirus is horrible. COVID is horrible. The percentage of people who die from COVID, however, is still lower than you would think. The statistics that we see on television, on the radio, we read, it makes it seem like everybody's dying from COVID. There are lots of problems with those statistics, and it is still a very small percentage. We now have, it was just announced recently, that some presidents are going to show us how wonderful the vaccine is, because they're going to take the vaccine on camera. We have Bush, we have Clinton, we have Obama. They've all, Fauci, I think, also has said they're all going to take the vaccine on camera. So we know, so they can show us just how great it is. Well, why would we believe that they are being given the vaccine rather than a placebo, some kind of solution that is not dangerous and not deep enough to be dangerous? Why, with all the media, that has been put into such question, the public doesn't really trust media anymore, with good reason. Why would we believe that these presidents are really getting the vaccine that we supposedly are going to be getting? I am not going to be first online for the vaccination. I don't know. I would prefer not to take it at all. The only way that I would take it would be if the things that you need to have proof of vaccination for would limit my life. When I first read about these plans to have immunity cards, immunity passports, and have these companies where you would get your vaccination, they are then supposed to report it to the government. And it totally goes against HIPAA rules. I mean, we're supposed to have privacy about our medical information. And so all of a sudden now, what makes this different? Why should we have to say whether we took a vaccination or not? It's really very scary. There are just so many things going on that are pointing to increased control. Because, when we were told to wear masks, and some people did, or we were told to lock down, each step that we were told to do, well, first masks, washing your hands, staying 6 feet apart, locking down, each step was a little bit more, and then no restaurants. I mean, each of the mandates that have come down have been more and more serious. It's been increasingly serious. So that is the scariest part. And now, of course, we're at vaccines, that they have been sort of desensitizing us to rebelling against the mandates. Okay, if you're going to wear a mask, then how hard is it to stay 6 feet apart or to lock down in your house? That kind of thing. We've been gradually desensitized and have come to believe that, oh, well, this is okay. They're just looking out for us. I mean, really? So, and again, I am not for COVIDiots. See, I wanted to mention this. What has been happening by this increase in mandates is that people have begun, and especially since it's lasting, so many months, people have begun to rebel. People who were sort of okay with the mandates or some of the mandates, the more mandates and the stricter they are, the more people want to rebel. That's a normal psychological response. It's like little kids, if you keep being told to go stay in your room, after a while, kids are going to want to come out, sneak out. Well, that's what's happening with what we call COVIDiots, people who purposely go into situations without masks, without 6 feet apart, to rebel against the so-called authorities who are telling us what to do. And that is why we're having more coronavirus, because more people are rebelling. So these mandates it's backfiring. I mean, the bottom line was that we were overreacting to COVID. We are overreacting to COVID, and there was tremendous financial problems after the Spanish flu. There were psychological problems, although of course they weren't really described as much in those days as now. After Freud, now we have more. We can talk about it a little better, clearer. But there's certainly, we lived through that, and we made some mistakes, and I think we don't want to make some of the same mistakes now. People are getting more and more ground down, more by the mandates, more by the restrictions, the quarantine, the lockdowns, all of the things that we're not supposed to do, not to mention, it's almost too dreadful to really imagine the economic impact. I mean, it's already, of course, happening, but by the end of this, whenever that is, it's going to be greater. And people they're feeling depressed, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling suicidal, they have PTSD. They're getting dehumanized because we're keeping such a distance, physical distance, and it's become an emotional distance. Also, like it's almost takes too much energy to call somebody by Zoom or by telephone. As people are just hiding, going into their little, going into hibernation in their little caves, and none of this is good. And and then of course on top of it, the civil unrest, and it's just a combination of so many damaging traumas. I call it crisis fatigue. What crisis fatigue, meaning that from between one crisis and the next, we haven't had room to breathe, we haven't had room to heal, and so now the holidays are coming, or they're here. And so usually there's some holiday stress, but it's holiday stress on top of crisis fatigue. I mean, there are so many crises and traumas and all of this that we're trying to sort of soldier on and stay healthy in. I mean, the stress, I can't stress enough how much stress weakens our immune system and is the biggest killer. Perhaps older people do tend to, I'm talking again about over 80, they do they're more isolated, first of all. And there are a lot of things, it's not just physically, it's a lot of things that make them more stressed. And so is that the major factor in why they are more affected? We need to do things to decrease our stress and to do positive things for ourselves. And I have come up with an anagram that if everybody did this every day, and these are easy things, if everybody did this every day, they would they would, I mean, I can't say it's a cure or that it's guaranteed that they're going to be healthy, but it is certainly a very good protection. And the anagram spells heal myself. Each letter stands for something that you need to do. So H is for healthy, nutritious food. E is for exercise, whether that's taking a walk out in the sun or dancing in your living room. A is aromatherapy. You can put aromatherapy candles or plants, flowers around your house. L is for laughter. Everybody needs to have at least 1 hour of laughter a day. How much, so many homes these days, there is not, people almost feel like they're not allowed to laugh. And laughter is the best medicine, and that would really help. Then, so that's heal. And then myself. M is meditation or calming music. Y is your choice of vitamins and supplements. S is sleep at least 8 hours a night. E is engage with friends and family and provide social support, help each other, give each other advice and express your worries. Then L is limit your daily intake of gloom and doom. Major important thing to do. And F is follow your passion. Just because we are quarantined and all of this chaos is going on in the world, we can still find, we do have time, and we could still put that to good use to follow our passion while we're waiting this out. Social media has become monster. It has too big for its britches. Social media giants, that they are giants and they are above control. And instead of providing information, I mean, there are lots of course, wonderful things about the internet and so on. You Google things, okay. But, and when we started with this, we had this perhaps naive view that all of these things that we were going to see on there were not censored and were, we're left to us to decide which things we agreed with and which things we didn't. And more and more, of course, these tech giants have been doing political, just all kinds of censorship. And the one that particularly bothered me was when they all decided that they knew more about medicine than doctors. I'm talking about how they censored anything having to do with hydroxychloroquine. Since when does somebody sitting, a tech person, an IT person, since when does he or she know more about medicine than doctors who are on the front lines using a medication like hydroxychloroquine, seeing amazing results if they give it to their patients soon enough in the first 4 days, and yet Twitter and Facebook, all of these different giants have been censoring comments that say anything positive about hydroxychloroquine and other medications as well. So in terms of for COVID, that was just beyond, we can't trust our health, to Twitter. The reason why I moved to California was because after my psychiatry residency was because one of the things that I was very much involved in and did have done a lot of here in California, is helping people in the entertainment industry create television shows and movies that are not harmful to people. In particular, I mean, in regard to violence. I am very passionate about how the impact of media violence affects people. I'm not the only one who knows about this or did studies on this. It's been for decades, people have been doing studies showing that the more violent media you consume, the more aggressive you become. Not everyone becomes a serial killer, but they may act out their aggression in domestic violence or, road rage or fighting for a parking spot. And so I wanted to help Hollywood to make less violent entertainment. Well, my terroristtherapist.com website um, is to get people to become more familiar with some of the work that I do. Of course, my latest book for terrorism is Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My, How to Protect Your Child in a Time of Terror. And that is for parents and teachers and children. The first half of it is for grown-ups to help answer kids' questions about terrorism, to help them understand, help them express their feelings. And then the second part of the book is a picture book for kids that the grown-up is supposed to share with kids. And it's won 5 awards all over the world. And so that's part of it, to get people familiar, hint, hint, with my book. But also my Terrorist Therapist podcast plays on that. I do a weekly podcast. And each week I pick out the top, the most important things in terrorism. So, for example, my latest one is about the killing of the nuclear scientist in Iran. Before that, I've done a number of things connecting coronavirus with terrorism. I keep the main thing is I don't want people. A lot of people are in denial, especially now with the elections and with COVID. That has taken people away from paying attention or being aware that there are still people out there called terrorists who want to kill us and take over America. And so I want people to stay aware of that, not to hide under the covers, but to do things to make themselves and their family more resilient to terrorism. And I also try to help people recognize the things that are still affecting them from 9/11, and these things, by the way, have been increased during COVID. So, like, for example, from 9/11, that started the obesity epidemic because people were comforting themselves with comfort food. And of course, now we're doing that all the more. Things have gone up since 9/11, like alcohol and drug abuse, suicide, cutting, all kinds of negative sorts of things. And it's not only in adults who were alive at that time, but children of parents who were alive are affected. And that explains some of the reasons why millennials and the generation after them are the way they are, in terms of feeling like they need the government to take care of them. Because when they were growing up, their parents were in a PTSD state or a depressed state or some kind of state affected by 9/11. And it made them feel like they needed something more to take care of them. And so, there's all kinds of effects that are still lingering today. Today, I've had the pleasure to talk about some things that I feel very passionate about.